All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is one of those rare, unique opportunities each year where we get to bring on somebody who is a prolific real estate investor or some sort of an entrepreneur that can add a tremendous amount to the conversation. And so today is definitely one of those days. So we're calling this Building Long-Term Wealth with Short-Term Deals. And I have the great privilege of having Mr. Nasar El Arabi, very good personal friend of mine, and an entrepreneur that's done some pretty amazing things over the last number of years. So, Nasar, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, man. Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've had Nasser on previously. He's got a great story. He's somebody that has, as I said, created some terrific wealth for himself, for his family, and I've had the privilege of seeing that up close as we both live in the Charlotte area, and so I think there's going to be a lot of value in hearing from an investor today that's actually been there, done it, and he's gracious enough to actually share some of the things that's attributed to his success. So, as far as the webinar today, if you guys can bear with me for the first 5 or 10 minutes, there's a lot of non-clients on the call and people that have registered. So we'll just kind of work through just the fundamentals of these self-directed retirement accounts, as that will be a piece of Nasser's story. And then I'll turn it over so that Nasser can share with us kind of his journey and excuse me, what he's doing and how he's done what he's done over the last few years. Now, as is always the case, it's really important, and especially as Nasser's talking about really creative deal structures, it's really, really critical that we're always working with our CPAs and our attorneys, those tax and legal resources that can give us guidance as to how to structure deals and how to be as tax efficient as humanly possible. So really make sure that if you're looking to employ any of the deals that Nasser's doing, that you're working consistently and closely with your tax and legal professionals for that. So without further ado, we'll just delve right into it. And ultimately, as I said, this first part is just about the self-directed concept. So when we think about IRAs and 401ks, most of us think about stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And while that's still something you can do with us at American IRA, the real benefit of our service will be in investing in what we consider alternative assets. So the direct ownership of real estate, being the bank and lending money to other investors, investing perhaps even in privately held companies, and making investments in assets such as cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. Those are things that we can actually do with our IRA and 401k, because the basic premise is that we're ultimately wanting to invest our IRA and 401k in investments that we understand and we feel like are going to give us the best chance of success. So Nasser is an expert on real estate, so he's obviously going to share strategies where he can be really successful, whereas there are other techniques where Nasser is probably not nearly as competent. And so if he were just simply investing just blindly into whatever it may be, whether it's mutual funds, maybe it's privately held companies, he probably wouldn't have that level of success. And so ultimately, we're not trying to steer you towards any particular strategy. We're just simply giving you a platform so that you can invest in what you feel like your strengths are, so that hopefully you can make the best return on your investment dollar. So when we talk about a self-directed retirement account, ultimately there's two components to that equation. The first is that, as the name indicates, these are self-directed accounts, meaning that you as the account holder are making the investment decisions for your portfolio. As I said, you're probably going to work closely with your CPAs and your attorneys, but we are not advisors that are picking products for you. You are getting to make the decisions. Excuse me. And then the second aspect is when we're talking about a truly self-directed account. Again, we can still invest in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, but the real benefit where we separate ourselves from other IRA and 401k providers is the ability to invest in alternative assets such as real estate and what Nasser will share with us today. So American IRA is considered the third-party administrator for your retirement account, we're one of the few providers out there that is a fully integrated self-directed firm, meaning that we have the same ownership group for American IRA, which is the administrator, as we do for our parent trust company, which is New Vision Trust Company. So really the reason why that's important to you as a client is that if you're not fully integrated as we are, then your firm can get, can get a letter from their custodian saying you have 30 days to find a new home for assets for your clients, or else you're no longer in business. Because sometimes custodians change the way that they will allow the custody of assets. They will change the types of assets that they'll allow. And so that could put your self-directed firm in jeopardy. So ultimately, we're a strong self-directed firm because we are fully integrated. Now, as far as a fee concept goes, we're very, very different than many of the other providers in that our annual fee for our IRAs is capped at $285 a year. Now, with other firms in our space, their annual fee is capped at $2,000 to $3,000 because they charge you more money each year as your account balance grows. So your $50,000 account, the annual fee is far less than your $100,000 or your $500,000 retirement account with them. Our premise is that since we're not picking the investments for your portfolio, you shouldn't have to pay us more money each year as you do a good job of growing your retirement account. Now, ultimately, we're also different because we're investors ourselves. We're not just speaking theoretically about these investments. I have the great privilege of learning from people like Nasar on a regular basis and trying to become, I'm not going to say as good as Nasar, that's not going to happen, but I will tell you that I'm always striving to be a better investor, and we get to learn from our community. So ultimately, when we're sharing information with you, it's not just a fundamental theoretical understanding. We're also making investments ourselves. So I think that's a value add for our customer base. So when we talk about these self-directed accounts, I think a lot of times there's confusion that we are providing a completely different type of retirement account with different rules and regulations associated with it. And that's actually not true. You have the same retirement account with us that you would have with other financial services firms. So whether it's Schwab or Vanguard or monies that you have in a retirement account with an advisor, the retirement account itself is actually not changing forms. So if you have a Roth, a traditional, a SEP, a solo K, it has the same contribution limits with us. It has the same ability to take distributions from that retirement account. And so all the regulatory elements are identical. The only thing that's changing is that with a firm like ours, again, you can invest in rental properties or do wholesale deals, which is the differentiator. If you go to Vanguard and you say, I want to buy a rental property, they're going to look at you like you're crazy, and they're going to tell you you can't make those types of investments with their firm. So that's really the differentiating factor. So when you look at what our clients are investing in from a real estate perspective, essentially any type of physical real estate can be acquired by these retirement accounts. So it can be anything from raw land to condos, townhouses, single family homes, commercial buildings, industrial buildings, shopping centers. They can all be directly owned by your IRA or 401k. Now, sometimes, especially on larger deals, your retirement account might be one of multiple owners of the investment. And so sometimes we'll see clients that will create a specially formed LLC where the retirement accounts become members of the LLC. And then that LLC goes on to buy the apartment building or the 10 unit, whatever the case may be. And as I mentioned earlier, your retirement account can also be the lender. It can hold a deed of trust or a mortgage, depending upon the state you're investing in. And so that gives your retirement account the ability to invest in not only the physical real estate, but also the paper aspect, the bank, the lending concept that a lot of investors like utilizing. So as far as strategies go, the way I like to portray it to people is if you're making an investment with your IRA or 401k, largely the deal can typically be structured. So we have clients who use their IRAs or 401ks to purchase rental properties, to do fix and flips. Nasser's certainly an expert on concepts like wholesaling and options on properties, joint ventures, which is really just the opportunity to partner with other investors on a deal. And then also we see some clients will actually buy retirement homes. So they might buy a property at the lake, at the beach, in the mountains, somewhere that they find desirable, utilizing their retirement account. And then in their retirement years, they can actually take that property out of their retirement account and personally own that asset and then get the benefit and actually get to utilize that property. They can actually live in it part-time, full-time, whatever they think is the best fit there. So there's a lot of different strategies that we unpack in our webinars. And again, today, obviously, Nasar's opportunity to make us aware of and give us some tools for the shorter term deals like wholesaling inside and outside of these retirement accounts. So when I think about these strategies for purchasing an asset, for me, there's basically three fundamental ways that our IRA or 401k can purchase a deal. So the first is most typical, an IRA or 401k is the sole owner of the asset, and it's going to pay cash and it's going to do the wholesale deal, buy the rental, do the fix and flip, whatever the case may be. The second opportunity is where the IRA or 401k is actually going to partner either with another retirement account or an individual or a company, and then that partnership will get together to do the deal and just split the profits proportionate to the ownership. So you can also do that with your wholesale deals. And then the third option is where an IRA or 401k is actually going to borrow money to invest in real estate. So it could be via bank monies, it could be private monies, it could be seller financing that an IRA or 401k is getting. The key is that it needs to be a non-recourse loan. So you're not personally guaranteeing as the account holder this debt, which is kind of typically what we're used to as investors. We personally guarantee loans that we get from especially banks. So if you utilize the non-recourse loan concept, that may be something to talk to your CPAs and your attorneys about. So as I said, again, today is really about Nasar, him being willing to share his journey and what's worked well in his career. And so I want to make sure we turn it over. And Nasar, just want to make sure we got the controls over to you. Okay, so I think you have the controls. So again, without further ado, Nasar El-Arabi, great friend of mine, fantastic investor, and someone who's been incredibly successful in a variety of ways in real estate. And he's going to share how we can build long-term wealth using short-term deals.
Hey, man. All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Sean. Once again, man. Once again, and I definitely appreciate it. And everybody who's on, thank you for joining. I know you guys had, a lot of things you could have been, a lot of places you could have done, etc. But you would join here. You came to, hear me and Sean speak. And before I get into my presentation, I know I'm limited to time, so I'll make this really quick. Guys, so Sean is one of those. I like dealing with Sean because he knows how to break this stuff down where I can understand it. I'm not the sharpest tool in the toolbox, and he can be patient with us. So the reason why I did this webinar with Sean, and I've been doing them for years, and I'm a personal friend of his, and we had this conversation off record, is the importance of retirement, right? Me and Sean, I know people from all different races, all different type of backgrounds, cultures, etc. That when they became an adult and they became somewhat a little bit stable, they have to take care of elderly family members, right? And some of these family members, when they were in their 30s and 40s, they were making great money, buying gifts and doing everything that, a kid would like. And as a kid, you're not thinking about retirement, but unfortunately they weren't either. So now that kid becomes older, those people now, constantly have their hand out, and it's like, yo, I mean, I'm trying to get my stuff together, and I can't take care of my household in your household. And unfortunately, right, these are people we love, so we try to break our backs and try to help out where we can. But it might be too late for them, but it's not too late for us. We can make a difference today. The reason why I like to use American IRA and Sean, because I understand real estate. If you, I'm not a guy who understands stocks. Nothing wrong with stocks; it's a great investment. But I understand real estate. I have a specialized knowledge, which allows me to have a 7-figure real estate business. So what I do is, in my retirement, I do real estate transactions in my retirement to help it grow. All right. And then whenever I get to retirement age, I have that nest egg. I don't have to call on my children, call on Sean, to pay my mortgage or whatever the case may be. Okay. So this is a very important topic in all communities that we need to be taken serious. I used to work at a bank, and believe me, the financial literacy needs to be taught in school. So let me just start off with that, because I just want you guys to understand the serious of this topic. Yeah, I'm making I make great money, etc., and those are cool, and it's cool to get those sexy checks. How about we, get some tax-free money for the long haul for our retirement, okay? Because the way this thing is going, we don't even know Social Security will be there by the time we get there. But today's topic by me, Nasar El-Arabi, building long-term wealth with short-term deals. Let's go. All right, I got control. Okay, that's me, Nasar El-Arabi. Okay, so perfect. I've been involved in real estate since 2007. Did my first deal, fix and flip in New Jersey, and me and my partner lost about 7,000 apiece, so 14K altogether. I've been full-time in real estate since 2012. Last year, I did a gross about 1.9. I have over 100 plus YouTube videos, real estate Doru, and I wrote a book, Flip Houses Like Burgers, which is available on Amazon, okay? And that's me and my father back in 2014 at the Super Bowl when it was in New Jersey. The Seattle Superhawks played the Broncos, and if you guys remember that game, it wasn't nearly close. But that's me smiling, trying to hold it together, because I played a bunch of money for a terrible game. All right. All right, 2010, American IRA. I met Sean McKay, right? And I was new into the creative real estate side. Yeah, I've been involved in real estate since 2007, but I always thought real estate was go and get a realtor, go get a mortgage, buy a house, right? And that's what I thought real estate consisted of. That's what I thought real estate was. And it actually is not. There's a whole different world out there, and things that you can do in real estate that are not talked about, and things that can get you to fast track to financial independence. Okay. And me and Sean was kind of new at that time on the investment side. And, we just stayed in contact and became friends. Now, my current business is about 90% wholesale, right? I do have buy and holds. I do house flips, and I do new construction. Fortunately, I don't have any new construction projects going on right now. I was in that new construction space where stuff was retailing for about $500,000. And, we don't know. The current climate on the retail side in Charlotte is things are still flying off, but you just never know how long that's going to last. So that's what my current business looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna get into how to find a motivated seller, but some of you probably don't know what wholesaling is. But what wholesaling is basically I contract a property and I turn around and sell that property to someone like Sean McKay. So I'm going to give you an example. What happens is, let's say I find a deal that's worth $100,000, and I find a seller that's willing to sell me that house at $40,000. And they say, hey, look, I tried to list the house wouldn't sell, it needs too much work. Look, if you give me $40,000, I'm done with this house. You can have it. So I will sign a contract with that seller for $40,000, okay? And then I have a contract now, right? Then I'll call Sean and say, hey, look, I have this property over here at 123 Main Street. You might be interested. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. It's probably worth about $100. It rents for $800. It's something that you might be interested. He'll say, okay, let me come look at it. And I say, hey, before you look at it, I'm selling it for $50,000, right? So I got it for 40. I told him my price was 50. Okay, at that particular point, then at the $50,000 mark, Sean will then say he'll walk the property. He'll say, "Yeah, you know what? I'm interested in this. I will take this at 50. Let's get it done." So I then sold the property for $50,000, and I would do an assignment, which is a one sheet of paper. If you don't have it, you can go to my blog, realestatedoru.com, opt in. You get a free contract and assignment, or you can go on my Facebook group, Wholesaling with the Doru, and you look into the file section. You see all the paperwork you need to get started, including cold calling scripts. Okay, so I will then do an assignment, and I'll get a deposit. I say, all right, Sean, I need an earnest money, a non-refundable earnest money deposit, which is only refundable if title is dirty. So he'll give me a deposit of anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000. For this particular example, let's say he gave me a deposit for $1,000. Okay, so I will then take that to the attorney. Will do a title search. Let's say everything is going well. The title came back clean. After about 10 business days, we're ready to close. Sean will then wire in $50,000 plus closing costs. What happens is the seller gets her $40,000, and there's a $10,000 difference. Remember, I had the contract for 40, and I assigned that contract for Sean to 50. So that difference of $10,000 is mine. And then what I would do at that particular point is I would take that money and rinse and repeat. Okay, but that's basically wholesale in a nutshell. But the most important thing in wholesale is, how do you find motivated sellers? How do you find these sellers that want to give away their properties, that are tired of their properties, or don't want their properties? Well, one of the ways I find is I use direct mail. And direct mail is you purchasing a mailing list and then going to a mailing house and mailing it out, or you can write it out yourself. A mailing list that you will go after is absentee owner, code enforcement, tax delinquent, probate. And things like code enforcement, tax delinquent, probate, you can go to a sites like Doru, courthouselist.com to see if they offer it in your area, and use my code, Real Estate Doru. You get 10% off the list, 10% whatever you buy. And sites like that, they have specialty sites that you can only get from the courthouse. But if you're in Charlotte, tax delinquent and code enforcement, you can probably find for free online, but not all cities offer it online. So sometimes you have to get fresh data and have somebody pulling it. So that's one way to market to motivated sellers. Another thing I do is ringless voicemail, right? Ringless voicemail is when your phone doesn't ring and you get a voice message. And that voice message might say, hey, look, my name is Nasar, and I was in the area, and I'm looking to buy 3 houses this month. I want to see if you're open to selling yours. You can call me back. Thanks. All right. My number ID, they can call me back, and yeah, and we can talk from there. You can go to a site like durutouch.com to look at the ringless voicemail service that I use. Okay. Text is big right now. I don't know how long it's going to last, so you might want to get in while you can. If you go to durutexting.com, this is the text service. So sometimes I will buy a list, I will skip trace that list, and I will then say, hey, I'm looking to buy 123 Main Street. Are you open to selling? They'll text me back, say, hey, don't call me no more, don't contact me, or say, hey, look, I'm open to it, and then we'll talk further. Okay. Another popular way is cold calling. Now, you buy a list, you skip trace that list, you start calling people, see if they're open to selling. A really popular way of how I got started, and which is really good right now, driving for dollars. Okay, that's where you're going to a neighborhood looking for ugly houses, beat up houses, houses with tall grass, houses that need a new roof, just houses toe up from the floor up. Okay, and I used to do it with a pen and paper, very time consuming, and then I would write out the postcard. You don't have to do that. You go to a site like durudriving.com from your phone. You can download the app, promo code Real Estate Duru. You download that app. It's a 7-day free trial, just like with the Texas service. 7-day free trial. Just download it for 7 days. Play with it. Go out there and do something. If you like it, then keep it. If not, then just go ahead. It's 7-day free trial. What do you have to lose? Okay, so durudriving.com. It's a great app that I use when I'm looking at properties and I see other properties in the area. I can get their phone number from that app. I can send them a postcard from that app. I can farm a neighborhood from that app. Really good service. All right. You can also get a free list, right? Like, let's say somebody say, hey, I want to get, I'm serious about this business. I want to get data every month. You can get a free list from durudata.com. If you go to durudata.com, and if some of you are saying, what the hell is this Doru thing? Well, if you look on YouTube, my name is the Real Estate Duru. I'm not a guru, I'm a Duru because I actually do this business. But the Doru data, right? You can get a list up to 10,000 names for a month. Okay, for a month. Now you can get a 7-day free trial. Pull all the lists you want. You know, get a 7-day free trial, and you can pull tax delinquent list, vacant house list, absentee owner list, up to 10,000 names per month. If you want to keep the service, it's $97 a month. The reason why I love the service is because I can comp a property anywhere in the USA. Okay, anywhere in the USA, I can run comparables on the property, and I can get MLS comps and off-market comps. All right, so I'm looking at both comps so I can make a more accurate sound decision. Okay, on the property. Now, I'm going to get into this later, but with durulandflipping.com, this is how I learned how to flip land. So I recommend that course, durulandflipping.com. The thing about this course, what I like is that you can literally flip houses flip land without leaving your leaving your house. Like, you don't have to look at it. Like, some of the deals I've done, like in my IRA, like I haven't even looked at them, never. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. Uh-oh, I gotta go back one. How do I go back, Sean?
Press backspace, see if that works for you.
That works, man. All right, okay. So, motivated sellers. Look, when I first got started with this, man, I was broke. So I don't forget that. So I recommend you getting a free Google Voice number. All right, a free Google Voice number. Now, I don't recommend doing a bunch of texting and calling. You can do a lot of it from a Google Voice, right? The reason why I don't recommend you doing that is because if you do too much, you could be marked as spam. All right. I use that number to call back sellers and stuff is connected right to my phone. But if you're just starting out, you can put that on your mail pieces, but don't get too comfortable with it. Once you do a deal, you definitely want to buy phone numbers. Okay. So your marketing goes out, the sellers call in. You want to ask open-ended questions. Tell me a little bit about the house. How many beds, baths, how old is the roof, right? So while you're asking these open-ended questions, you're going to be looking at sites like Zillow.com. Pay attention to the solds only, just the solds. Redfin.com is another one. These are free sites. Or Duru Data if you have the service, or if you're in the 7-day trial period. I like Doru data. Again, I can look all over the country. I can get very accurate comps of what's going on in a neighborhood, so I can get the property for a right price and not a price that, let's say the property is worth 150 and I got it for 130 and now I can't sell the property. I don't want to waste the seller time or my time. Ideally, I like to make a soft offer over the phone. Use a typical formula of 70% all in, okay? And with that being said, I like to use the 70% all in. What that means is, it's a property worth 100 grand, your buyer wants to be 70,000 all in. So your offer doesn't need to be 70. Your offer needs to be that 70% minus repairs plus minus your wholesale fee. And that's where you need to be at with your offer. Okay. Now keep in mind, majority of your offers are going to be rejected. That's totally normal. It's a small portion of people that either they have to deal with us for a multitude of reasons, which can be divorce, inherited the house, got to sell quick. I don't want to fix my house up. I want to sell as is. My house is in foreclosure. I got to move quick. Okay. So somebody in a perfect condition, they don't need to deal with someone like us. They can just go list their house with a realtor, get full market value. And I express that to the sellers. I say, hey, look, I'm an investor. And as an investor, I need to buy houses that need work. All right. And I fix those houses up and I sell them and make my profit. Okay. As an investor, I don't want to buy houses that don't need no work in perfect condition. If you feel as good as you, maybe we're not a good fit. Okay. So if a property is worth $100,000, I want to make a soft offer. Ideally, I want to be at $45,000, right? So I say, hey, look, I'm going to be somewhere between 40 and 50,000. My strike price is 45. No, that ain't work. That won't work. That won't work. I need at least 60. And at that particular point, we're not far off. I'll go out and make an appointment and see what we can do. Okay. But I like to make soft offers before looking at properties, or sending my guys out to look at properties rather. If certain keywords are said, I don't make a soft offer, I just make an appointment. Certain keywords are, hey, I just want to get rid of this house. Hey, man, the tenant's not paying me. I just did an eviction. Man, I'm just done fooling with this house. I want out. I want to move on with my life. I want to retire. So, yeah. So that's what I do. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, that's what I do with that. Next slide. Let's say everything goes right. You make an appointment, right? You talk to seller, build good rapport, make them feel comfortable, and you explain your service, right? You buy houses. You're an investor. That's what you do. You're an investor. What does investors do? Investors makes money. So if they have a problem with you making money, it's probably not a good fit. Okay. While I'm walking through the property, I want to take pics of the property, right? I want to take pics of the property, and for me taking pics of the property while I walk through, I then go home and put them in like a folder or on your phone in Google Drive or something. Name it 123 Main Street. Now I have the pictures of the property. You see something wrong in the house, like sometimes you'll see cracks or broken windows. I'll stare at it, touch it, rub it, smack it. You know, seller, what you'll see is the seller would normally explain what happened. Oh, I had a roof leak there. Oh yeah, the toilet was leaking upstairs, and that's where that black mold is coming from. Yeah, that's what we got it fixed, but we just never fixed the shit. Oh, okay, thanks. All right, I don't go in there and beat the house up. That's one thing I don't do. I don't go in anybody's house and say, "Oh my God," I don't care how bad that house is. Okay, I'm gonna say, "Hey, look, I seen worse." You know, I know. Oh, you don't have to worry about nothing. This isn't bad. I seen worse. You know, so I don't go in there and beat up the house, right? I want the seller to feel comfortable with me. And I have talked to sellers who didn't want to do business with somebody because they went in there and beat up the house, or, you know, say, hey, this is a rough neighborhood. And they knew it's a gentrifying neighborhood that properties essentially selling for $300,000 and $400,000, but you're going to convince the seller this is a rough neighborhood. No, and you know, I don't do certain things, right? I try to be as straight up as possible. Before going to the house, you should have an idea where you need to be by studying the comps, right? If you can't properly assess repairs, don't worry about it. You just need to be low. Don't worry about those repairs. You need to be low. At the end of appointment, offer, you want the house worth 100, you know the house needs work, offer around 42. And you guys are settled at like 45, okay? Now you can sell that house around 55, all right? And you can go from there. But that's just generally walking you through, you know, dealing with the motivated seller aspect of it. You tell the seller, hey, since the house is vacant, can I put a lockbox on it so my contractor contractor and money partners can get in the house. The cash buyers are your money partners, essentially. They're bringing the cash. I got to get them in. And they say, all right, go ahead. They give you the keys, put the lockbox on. Now you're ready to rock and roll. Okay? But that's essential of wholesaling, right? My time is limited, guys, so trying to get through that. You go to my YouTube channel, Real Estate Doru, Instagram, Real Estate Doru, Facebook group, Wholesaling with the Doru, if you have questions about any and all that. I didn't get into cash buyers. I have multiple videos about how to find cash buyers, but if you got a good deal, it will sell. Believe me, it will sell. So now, this is what I wanted to get into. This is what's important. This is the reason why I did this. What I do is I buy land with my 401k account, right? I have a 401k solo account. Depending on your situation, Sean McKay will give the right product for you. That's gonna set you up right for your financial future. And it's easy just to sit around and say, hey, I did this, hey, I did that. But I want to show you guys actual HUD statements, right? And let me go back. Actual HUD statements, which was this property, 3622 Simmons Street in Charlotte, okay? I bought this property for $1,000. With closing costs and everything, it was $2,000. This was like my first deal I did in my my retirement account, man. So of course I did this one terrible. I mean, and looking back, this was done in 2015. It looks like, or 16, 15 or 16. And I wish I'd have kept that. I could easily get about 20, 30,000 cash for that now. But all right, so $1,000 is what I had it for, right? My cost basis was $2,000 with closing costs. This had like a big storage, essentially like a big garage, right? And somebody was living in the big garage. And he managed to get water from the people next door so that he can basically live, because the guy was not washing up. He was living in the garage. It smelled like horse manure, okay, throughout the whole garage. And the garage had an upstairs and downstairs. It was really funny looking. So I then turned around and after I bought it, I said, hey, look, I gotta start charging you something. And he hasn't paid, he hasn't paid the guy. They didn't, I could never find out what happened between them, but he hasn't paid the guy well over a decade, like any money. He was just staying there for free. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a garage. So the person next door, he got a new neighbor next door, and the new neighbor was saying, hey man, I don't want you using my water anymore because I'm not trying to get into any financial disputes of anything about, hey, I only use this amount of water, so I'm not trying to deal with that. So you gotta, so I'm gonna cut off the supply. So he just left on his own. All right. I then started. Okay, did this in 2016, so about 4 years ago. I then started from there. I sold the property. I sold it for $7,500, right, in August. So about 2 months, sold it for $7,500. I took payments on that, right? And there's a few things I did wrong. I had the guy just send the payments in to American IRA, which he should have been sending the payments to me, and then I sent it to American IRA. And I think the payments on it was only like $100. So I was trying to stretch it out for him. He lived next door to it, but I could have done so many things. So I could have done that deal way better. This was probably the worst transaction I've done in my IRA. And the worst transaction is, as you see, is probably going to make me $5,500, but it's like a long-term deal to work for $5,500. It's still a great return, but knowing what I know now, I could have done that a lot better, right? So that's that transaction. Next one, 3313 Marietta Street, which is another Charlotte property. I bought this property, as you see, I'm not making this up, for $1,000 in 2017. $1,000, okay? With closing costs and everything, I paid about $2,000 for it, right? Yeah. And so I end up selling that one for 7,500 cash. Okay. So now you see what I'm doing? I'm buying these lots for $1,000, right? So 2,000 essentially with closing costs, paying my closing costs and the seller's closing costs. And I'm selling them for 7,500. Okay. And I'm doing them like, if you look, I bought this in March. Okay. Sold this in June for 7,500. Okay. It's not too many places that legally you can put $2,000 in and then walk away with a essential net profit of about $5,000 or or so in a few months. And that's what I'm doing. These are in my retirement account, right? That's just how I'm growing it. And you see this documentation piece conversation. Now this is a home run deal, right? These are not typical. Home run deal. I bought 601 Bradford Street. I want to say I bought it for about $5,000 or $6,000 or so. Property was in a low income neighborhood, right? Low income neighborhood. People said it used to be a gas station. Person couldn't sell it. They wanted to get rid of it. Hey, great. That's who I want to deal with. People who just want to get rid of stuff. I bought that property in December of 2018, right? I sold that property for 46,000. All right, $645. He put down 50%. So he put down like $20,000, right? Realtors got paid out of that 20. And then he took the rest on payments. He paid me off 2-3 months ago. And I gave him 10 years to pay it off. The reason why I stretched out the payments for him is because it was in my retirement account. I couldn't touch the money anyway. So I thought that was helping, but the guy just paid it off. So all right, let's go back. All right. I paid about, let's say, $5,400 for this. Let's say $6,000. I paid about $6,000 for this property and sold it for $46,000. Okay. And a few months later, December, bought in December, sold it. We closed in February, $46,000. Another one, I kind of look back. I sold it too cheap, but it is what it is. I got my return. I moved on, etc. But that's a home run deals. That deal is not typical, right? And I learned to do this stuff. Doru landflipping.com. You can get the course. My man Jack, good guy. Just learn how to do these deals. And these deals are so easy to do, man. Because land is not that competitive. Okay, it's not that competitive. And if you call that office or sign up for the webinar, you tell them Nasar, they'll put you on a payment plan for the course, or they'll really take care of you. You'd say, hey, I know Nasar, the real estate guru. They'll take care of you down there. All right. So with all this, right? Like I graduated from high school with a 1.8 GPA. Probably got in college probably like a 2.0, right? So like a 2.0, right? And with that 2.0, yeah, man, I'm not the bright. I never was a strong mathematician. I know how to get out there. I'm willing to get out there and just make things happen, right? I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a guy that can calculate rates of returns or any of that stuff. That's why I was just using real numbers with the HUD, saying, hey, look, I bought it for 6,000, but I sold it for 46,000. What kind of return is that? I don't know. But I know it's good because my 401k is bigger, right? And one of the things I don't want to be a burden on anybody in my later years if I don't have to. Of course, health plagues and things like that, yeah, you want somebody to take care of you. But I don't want somebody to have to take care of my basic financial needs for the sake of, okay? So I just wake up with failure is not an option, all right? And I'm not a Harvard grad in no way. I just do not accept failure, okay? Do I fail? Absolutely. Yeah, it's multiple deals I bought that I shouldn't have bought, and the deals that I should have bought. I don't focus on that. I focus on the future. Focus on getting things done. Focus on the next day. Focus on the next deal, and just making it happen and getting up and keeping that attitude. And I know when you turn on the news station, all you see is depression, sadness, etc. And that stuff is real. It is. It is. Life isn't fair. But I just can't sit around and cry about it. I have to do something. I have to change my economic situation. And with my economic situation, not only my current situation, but also when I retire, I want to be in a better position when I retire, where I'm comfortable as well. I just don't want to live a good 30, I have good 30s and great 40s, and then boom, I'm in my 50s and things have changed, technology has changed, and I have to force myself to get up and take a job I don't want because I didn't plan properly for the future. Okay, and that's what this webinar is about: just planning properly for the future. Okay, that's what it's about. All right. So, Sean, you want to take back over?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Nas. And to that point, I think that one of the many things I've appreciated about watching Nasser's journey is that obviously I'm an employee at American IRA, and so predominantly I'm a W-2. And when I look at those full-time entrepreneurs like Nasser and other real estate investors in town, I do find that there's an ability to move past failure that is more difficult for people like myself, quite frankly, that are predominantly W-2. And, sometimes we don't appreciate the mistakes are beneficial due to the growth that we get, the lessons that we learn, etc. And so for those of you out there that are on that journey for that kind of more that full-time real estate experience, I do ask you to kind of keep that in mind because that does seem to be at least one of the many differentiators between those that can deal with failure, deal with uncertainty, deal with having to carve out their own path, and those that, like myself, feel good about having that paycheck come in every 2 weeks. There's something to be said for that as well. So, ultimately, Nasser, I appreciate you sharing a lot of those ideas with us. And so, for those of you that are looking at doing different types of deals inside of your IRA or 401k, ultimately try to keep in mind that there is definitely a procedure for successfully executing these strategies. So, first, you must make sure you open and fund your IRA or 401k with a company like American IRA. And then, as you said, as Nasser said, you're out there, you're looking for off market opportunities, typically looking to solve people's situations. And so, if you identify a property that essentially you're going to be looking to wholesale, you're going to be working with our office for the paperwork, everything from the offer to purchase, the closing documents, that stuff will all be signed around by our office per the client's instruction. And then ultimately, that IRA or 401k is going to be assigning the contract. And Nasser, correct me if I'm wrong, but typically what we see with wholesale deals is usually that IRA or 401k is actually getting paid at closing. It's a specific line item on the settlement statement on the HUD that states the IRA or 401k is getting, whether it's 5,000, 15,000, whatever it may be in terms of a assignment fee for assigning that property to that end investor that's buying the property. Is that typically what your deals look like as well, Nasser?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, perfect. And so for those of you listening live, we do have a questions box. So definitely feel free if you have any questions for Nasser. He's been great with sharing information, and he may be able to dig a little bit deeper depending upon your questions. And so obviously our contact information is up here. So certainly feel free to reach out to the appropriate party for the questions, and I'm sure that obviously the majority of these live questions will still be will uh, will be largely for Nasser. So first question is, can we get a copy of the slides? Yes. So we appreciate you registering. As Nasser said, there's a lot of things you could be doing with your time. So you'll receive the audio recording as well as the PowerPoint slides as essentially a packet. So you'll be able to, kind of listen to the content that's been provided and work through that. All right, so the next one is, Nasser, do you prefer to wholesale land or houses?
Um, ideally houses. Ideally houses. What you'll find with land, it's a lot easier. You can go into places you never thought of or whatever, like anywhere, and get land done. Because with land, there's less competition and um there's less fighting. And when people have land, the reason I'm getting it for $1,000 because it's a burden to them. Hey, I've been paying taxes for it. Just get rid of this. I'm tired of cutting the grass. So that's why I get the deals I get. Essentially, ideally I like houses because like I'm really passionate about real estate. So I rather prefer to wholesale houses, but that's just me and my preference. Some people are not passionate about real estate; they just want to check. So either one, as long as they're getting checks, it doesn't matter.
Okay, great. Um, all right, so the next one is when you're assigning a wholesale deal to your LLC, can you assign part to yourself and part to your LLC?
When you're assigning a wholesale deal to yourself, you want to so you want to partner with your LLC. Sean can better answer that, but I believe you can partner with your LLC. I have done it before. And is that correct, Sean? You can partner with your LLC, right?
You can, yeah. As you said, this question might go a few different directions, but from the retirement accounts perspective, you can have the retirement account have a certain percentage ownership of the wholesale deal, and then so if it was Nasser, it might be Nasser's solo K owns, let's say, 75% of the wholesale deal, and Nasser's LLC owns 25%. So if it's a $10,000 assignment fee, then 75% of that flows to the solo K and 25% of that flows to the LLC.
There you go. So, and I've done those type of transactions before. Like the ones I told you about are like the quick selling stuff. Like, because I have in my retirement account, I have stuff that's like in areas that I feel are going to appreciate. And I might have picked them up for like 5,000, 1,000, 10,000, or 15,000, but I know they'll essentially be worth 100 grand. And I hold stuff as well, but sometimes if it's been properties whereas I can get in for 5,000, I know it's probably worth about 15,000 now, but if I hold it, for 2 years or so, I can sell it for more. And so I partner with one of my entities so I can get money in my account and money in my retirement. So yeah, but yes, you can partner with that. And one thing I like about working with American IRAs because you can call Sean and ask him. He's also on Facebook, Sean McKay, and ask him a question like, "Hey, can I do this in my IRA?" Yeah, that's why because you have some retirement companies where they give you the checkbook, you have full control. You also have full responsibility if you mess up. And I have my runners with the IRS, so I don't want full responsibility. I want to make sure I'm doing everything on the up and up. Life is already stressful enough. I don't want to make it more stressful for myself. But yes, centrally, yes, you can partner with the deal. Partner with yourself.
Perfect. And yeah, Nasser makes a great point. And the one thing I will say about this is that for those that are going to be transactional with their retirement accounts, whether that's wholesales, fix and flips, just shorter term deals, you do again really want to work closely with your CPAs and your attorneys because everyone has a different analysis in terms of how many of those activities you can have before actually creating a potential tax consequence, what's called UBIT, unrelated business income tax. Because basically, the way the IRS sees it is if you're running an actual business of flipping houses or wholesaling inside your retirement account, typically it's around the idea of the volume of activity, then there is the potential for a tax consequence. So as you can see from Nasser's examples, he's not discussing strategies where he's doing, 20, 50 wholesale deals a year inside of his retirement account. His CPA would probably say, hey, that's a business that the retirement account owns. So there's UBIT there. So you want to be a little strategic. You really want to get some guidance from your professionals as to what they're comfortable with. Because again, obviously, we're trying to be as tax efficient as possible with these retirement accounts. So good points there, Nasser. All right, so the next one is Nasser. How do I talk to you one on one? So what sort of handles or where's the best way for people to interact with you?
All right. So if you have a real estate question, ideally, if you can go in a Facebook group, wholesaling real estate, wholesaling with the Doru on Facebook, ask the question there. I'll get to it.
Okay, great. And obviously, I love Nasser as an individual, good personal friend. We're certainly at American IRA. Obviously, we have to do the disclaimer. We're not promoting investment opportunities, individuals to invest in. Obviously, we appreciate Nasser sharing all of his knowledge and what have you, but it's not a quote unquote endorsement from American IRA as to different investors to invest with, being that these are self-directed accounts. Next one is there a max amount you can deposit in an IRA annually? Yes. So different retirement accounts will have different contribution limits. So keep in mind the contribution limit is just simply the amount you can put into the account each year from essentially earned income. But there's no limit to how quickly you can grow the account. So Nasser might have a wholesale deal where he puts a few $1,000s in, and then months or years later, that yields $50,000, $100,000 in profits. So there's no maximum in terms of how quickly you can grow the account. So most typically, it's Roth and traditional IRAs. And so for those individuals under 50, you can contribute up to $6,000 a year. For individuals 50 and over, it's up to $7,000 a year. The solo Ks do have significantly higher contribution limits, and there's more moving pieces there. So certainly feel free to reach out if you think you're a good candidate for the solo 401k product. So thanks for that.
Also,
go ahead.
Hey, Sean. Also, if you already have a 401k or IRA at your job, keep in mind you can get an additional retirement product, or you can transfer it over. But again, this is a self-directed. You have to know what you want to invest in. You have to, know what you're doing because you're in control. So I had to say that if you already have a retirement account in the stock market and you don't like the way it's performing and you want to put it in real estate, whether for yourself, invest, doing some loans, not just for me, with anybody, loans, and you can transfer that money you already have into a retirement product with American IRA and get those transactions done.
Yeah, really well said. I appreciate that, Nas. That's definitely good guidance there. And so obviously there'll be a lot of people reaching out post event. Again, Nasser, really appreciate your willingness to kind of share a bit about your business model and what's working well. And frankly, I think it's inspiring for a lot of us that are looking to do similar types of deals to see, those are settlement statements. I mean, that is what is actually happening with Nasser's investments. So again, really, really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to just share some information with us.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you all so much for joining us. And again, obviously, here are the handles and different ways to reach out to Nasser. As you mentioned, he's got great content via YouTube channels, via his Facebook group, and what have you. Great way to interact with investors, learn, and perhaps do deals with different investors via the community. So. Thank you all so much. Thank you for registering. Thank you for listening live, those of you that did that. And please feel free to let us know what types of additional content you'd like moving forward so that we can hopefully bring some value to you in your investing. And I think that's it for now. And thank you all so much. Have a great day.